bit. The final stages of the Employment Rights Bill are being debated in the Commons today and tomorrow. One of the amendments by Stella Creasy, Labour MP, calls for paid and protected leave for dads. Joining me now is Elliott Rae, founder of Parenting Out Loud. Welcome to you, the workplace culture change programme for working dads. Elliott, what do you make of the current paternity leave?
I think the current paternity leave is not fit for purpose at all. Around 20% of dads do not take any paternity leave at all. Affordability is the main issue. It's paid at about £184 and 3 pence per week for 2 weeks. And that is sad and devastating for so many families.
Do you think the amendment is a positive thing, then, to have more and better paid and protective leave for fathers?
100%. I think the work Stella's doing is great and needed, and it is essential. For so many reasons. There was a recent study by PwC that found that closing the gender employment gap could have amazing benefits for the UK economy, around 188 billion we could add to the economy. And enhanced paternity leave can have a major positive impact on that. I think we need at least 6 weeks paid at 90% for dads as a minimum.
Right,
and
so
that
the same as maternity. I mean, they have 30... Well, OK, so one of our guests, Ian, has just said by whom? Who are you thinking should pay that?
Well, I think it should be government legislation. I think we will get the benefits back from the economy of putting that money forward in the first place. This is something that is an investment. If we invest in families, invest in dads, we will see the benefits back in the economy through higher participation in the economy. And that will not put us at leading at all across Europe. We look to Denmark and Sweden. They are market leaders. 90% for 6 weeks would be a bare minimum, but I think would make so much impact to dads and families' life. This is really important. You know, gone are the days of men and dads feeling like they have to be just playing the traditional gendered parenting roles of providing and protecting. Men now want things differently. They want to be equal caregivers. There's loads of research from charities like Working Families and Fatherhood Institute shows that men want to do things differently, want to set different examples and live a whole and full life, which involves, yes, working,
yes,
but it also involves being caregivers, seeing their children grow up and enjoying a full life that comes with parenting as well.
Ian, what's wrong with that?
I struggle with this in the sense that if you really say that the taxpayer, or suggest the taxpayer should be paying the bill here, I mean, if you're on a top salary, £250,000 a year, are you seriously suggesting the taxpayer should subsidise somebody earning that kind of money to the tune of 90% for 6
weeks?
6 weeks. Is that really your suggestion?
Yes. This is going back into our pockets. You know, those high earners or any earner will get the benefits back themselves. They're not paying solely for other people. They are also paying for themselves. Men and dads.
I'm talking about the shop worker at Asda who's earning a couple of £100 a week through part-time work, and part of his or her taxes are going to subsidise somebody on £250,000 a year. That is not a serious proposition.
Elliott?
I would say, Ian, talk to those men, talk to those families. They want this. They want better paternity leave. They have seen the negative impact of not being able to support their partner at home, not having the time to bond with their baby, the negative mental health impacts that puts on themselves and then transfers to higher pressure on the NHS. We have seen the negative impact of dads not being equal caregivers and what that means to gender equality at home and in the workplace.
I'm not suggesting that fathers shouldn't be equal caregivers. I think the whole system needs reform. I think we should be abolishing maternity pay and paternity pay and just doing it all through shared parental allowances. So we don't live in the 1950s anymore. Women are going out to work often. I mean, 18 to 30 women. The gender pay gap is the other way round now. It's women who are earning more than men. So why not have it a sort of joint allowance that can be shared between the two?
Elliott, what do you think of that?
The shared parental leave policy doesn't work. The take-up has been around 2 to 4% of eligible families. It's a complicated, bureaucratic process.
Simplify
and for most families, it's not something that they can take up. So we have tried it. It hasn't worked. What we need now is paid and protected leave for dads. We know that when men or any caregivers are able to spend time with their children, they go through changes. Their brain develops in a different way. Currently, dads are not getting that time to spend that time with their children. That's having negative impact on their mental health.
Okay.
1 in 10 dads and 1 in 5 mums will experience some symptoms of postnatal depression in the first 6 months of their child's life. When we add on complicated births, traumatic births, C-sections, and then we tell a dad to spend 2 weeks in hospital and then go back into work straight after, we are doing a disservice to that family. And that has devastating impacts on everybody, not just that family, but the local community and their workplace.
Let me bring in the other guest. Singh, what do you think of the proposal?
I mean, we have the worst paternity leave policy in Europe. So, 2 weeks at, I think, half the minimum wage? The European average is 8 weeks of full pay. I think we need to get back in step with our European neighbours because, British dads want to stay at home and bond with their children just as much as European ones. What Elliott's saying is completely correct. There's a whole generation of men who are now becoming fathers and are completely shocked at the lack of paternal provision for them. 2 weeks is barely a third of a school holiday. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's so many men that I speak to who have just become new dads who are struggling with the fact that they have now feel like they've gone back into the past where they are expected to be the primary earner and the woman is expected to stay at home. That's not a country that's fit for the 21st century.
Should the government take this on? Because it is an amendment by Stella Creasy, Labour MP.
Well, a lot of Labour MPs are supporting this amendment. I saw a letter from Stella Creasy which has many... I am. It has many, many signatures on it. I don't know exactly how many. So
no, it has. It has got a lot. I can't remember the exact number, but it's growing anyway.
So, look, the principle that fathers should be supported to be fathers is exactly the right principle. We can argue a little bit about where the money comes from or how the money...
that is important.
It is important. I mean, I don't think that it's just a serious suggestion that a person with an income of £250,000 a year would need to have this additional funding. But
they would be entitled to it.
Yes, they would. I mean, presumably it would be the same as statutory maternity pay.
OK. Look, for myself, I had 3 children a long time ago. I had no paternity leave. My daughter, who's just had her second baby, now 4 months old, her husband had 2 periods of maternity leave, of paternity leave. And I can see a big difference in how a father is able to bond with a young family.
Well, Richard...
So I support it.
Well, Richard, would you support the amendment? And also to Elliott's broad points that actually it will be paid back into not just the family, but also society at large.
On the amendment specifically, I think Ian raises some really fundamental points around that and who are we actually asking to cross-subsidise who. I'm also probably around that sort of point in there where a lot of my friends are having children at the moment, becoming a godfather
on a
regular basis. But no, I think the key thing on this is, actually was raised, it's about shared parental leave. Most of the leave which is available for new parents can actually be used by the father or the mother.
But the take-up is very low. Elliott is right.
Elliott is absolutely right that the take-up is far lower for fathers. I do think that there could be that's something we probably as a society need to have a broader conversation about how that is shared better between mother and father. But there's also physical childbirth, etc. Mothers often will want that extra time at home with the new baby themselves as well. So I think this is for individual families will have individual, which is why the flexibility is there, so that they can make those choices for themselves. I don't think it's really for us to mandate. You've got to have at least 6 weeks. I think it's that would
you don't have to.
But that would be potentially taking time off. Of a mother being able to spend longer at home as well. So I think we should leave it to families rather than the state imposing it on people.
Elliott, how confident are you that this amendment will be taken on and things will change?
I hope those MPs stand their ground. I hope they listen to what Stella's doing. I hope they listen to the general public. I hope they do the right thing. And the right thing is supporting the amendment, supporting the bill. If we are serious about gender equality in this country, we know that about 80% of the gender pay gap is the motherhood penalty. If we are serious about women progressing into senior roles, participating in the economy, we have to support dads to be equal caregivers at home. Those two things go hand in hand together. There are so many arguments as to why this is the right thing to do for the economy, morally, for health, for well-being, for families, and most importantly, for children. So I support those MPs. I think they're doing the right thing. And fingers crossed this goes through.
Well, they're listening to you now. Just very briefly.
Stella is a brilliant campaigner, so don't underestimate her.
Well, no, and Elliott, thank you very much for joining us. Just before we go, I have some...